Welcome back, everyone, to our deep dive. Today, we're looking into a really fascinating book, Oliver Burkeman's 4,000 Weeks, Time Management for Mortals.
That's right. And the title itself uh, kind of gives away the core idea, doesn't it? 4,000 weeks. That's roughly the average human lifespan.
It's stark when you put it like that, and Burkeman really uses this fact to ask, well, how should we actually live knowing our time is so finite?
Exactly. And it's quite countercultural. We live in this age absolutely obsessed with productivity, getting more done, hacking our time.
Squeezing every last drop out of it.
Yeah, and Berkman challenges that whole mindset. He's inviting a pretty radical rethink of our relationship with time itself.
So our goal today is really to dig into those core insights, pull them out, and maybe offer a different way, a more meaningful way, perhaps, to think about
Is this illusion of total control over time?
Ah, yes. The idea that if we just find the right system, the perfect app, the ultimate schedule, we can somehow master time.
We can wrestle it into submission. But Berkman argues that this whole premise, this foundation of modern productivity culture, is flawed. It's built on a kind of false promise.
Okay, let's unpack that a bit because, we've all felt that pressure, right? The endless search for efficiency.
hmm But he has this key line, something like, the problem isn't that we don't have enough time. It's that we feel compelled to do far too much.
Yeah, with the time we've got, yeah, I remember that. It hits hard because it flips the script. It's not about getting more time, but maybe wanting less stuff to do in the time we have.
Precisely. It challenges this view of time as just another resource we can optimize and expand if we're clever enough.
So this constant drive to plan everything, control every minute. You're saying Berkman sees that as a symptom of something deeper.
He does. He suggests it's often rooted in a denial, really, a denial of our own finitude. By trying to control time, absolutely, we're sort of resisting the fact that our lives do have an end.
We're avoiding the big, scary truth of limitation.
Yeah. And this sort of frantic planning can, ironically, make us miss the present moment entirely because we're always optimizing for a future that, well, might not even come in the way we expect.
Which leads quite naturally into his next big idea, doesn't it? This concept of radical acceptance. Now, that term acceptance can sometimes sound a bit passive, like giving up.
Right, but that's not really how Berkman frames it. It's not resignation. It's more like existential realism. It's about actively acknowledging and even embracing the limits. We
Hmm.
actually have limits on our time, our energy, our focus.
So less, oh, well, I can't do anything, and more, okay, these are the real boundaries I'm working within.
Exactly. It echoes some, older philosophical ideas too. You acknowledge what you can't change, like the 4,000 weeks limit, so you can actually focus your energy more effectively on what you can influence.
I see. So facing the limits isn't depressing, it's liberating.
That's the argument. It frees you from that constant, exhausting struggle to be superhuman, to transcend your limits. You stop wasting energy fighting reality.
And that freed up energy, that's where conscious choice comes in. Because accepting limits doesn't mean doing nothing.
Precisely. Acceptance becomes the catalyst.
Yeah.
Once you stop trying to control everything, you can start making more deliberate, more conscious choices about how you actually want to spend the finite time and energy you do have.
Okay. Now, Berkman also talks about something he calls existential procrastination. This isn't just putting off doing the dishes, is it?
No, it's bigger than that. It's the tendency we have to postpone real life,
Yeah.
putting off the important decisions, the meaningful projects, the difficult conversations.
Because we're waiting for some imagined future point where we'll finally have enough time or feel ready or conditions will be perfect.
Exactly that. We're always waiting in the wings thinking, I'll start living properly when X, Y, or Z happens.
And the risk is that when never quite arrives.
Right. It keeps us in this sort of perpetual state of incompleteness, always preparing to live rather than actually living. Berkman's counter is pretty blunt. Just start. Start living now. Imperfectly, uncertainly, but intentionally.
This ties into something else I found really paradoxical in the book, the critique of efficiency. We're told efficiency is king, it saves time.
But Berkman points out this strange paradox. Often, the more efficient we become at, say, clearing our email inbox.
The more emails seem to flood in to fill the space.
Exactly. Or you finish tasks faster, only to find your manager gives you more tasks because you're so productive. The efficiency drive can just become this hamster wheel, leading to more and more demands on our time, not less.
So the answer isn't necessarily to be inefficient, is it? That seems wrong too.
No, not deliberately inefficient. The key, he argues, is shifting the focus. It's about prioritizing what's genuinely meaningful, what truly matters to you. And this is the hard part, even if it means consciously deciding not to do other things.
Letting some balls drop, choosing quality over quantity.
Precisely. Making active choices about allocation rather than just trying to cram more and more in. It's about deciding what's worth your finite time.
And making those choices requires knowing what is quality time, which brings us to his distinction between deep time and shallow time. Can you explain that a bit, maybe with some examples?
Sure, deep time, as Burkeman describes it, is when you're fully immersed, focused, engaged in something meaningful. It requires concentration. Think about getting lost in writing something important or having a really focused, present conversation with someone without checking your phone.
Or maybe even just being fully present on a walk, noticing things, letting thoughts connect without constant interruption.
Exactly. It's about depth, connection with a task, with another person, with yourself, or even the world.
Okay, so shallow time is the opposite.
Pretty much. It's fragmented time,
Hmm.
constantly switching tasks, checking notifications, scrolling through feeds, doing routine admin. The stuff that fills our days but often feels unsatisfying.
Distracted time.
Yeah, distracted, dispersed. And look, some shallow work is unavoidable, right? We all have emails to answer. But Berkman's point is that a meaningful life requires us to intentionally carve out and protect those periods of deep time.
We have to actively cultivate them. They don't just happen amidst the chaos.
Not usually, no. It takes effort.
So thinking about Berkman's overall goal in writing this, what do you think he's really trying to achieve? And how does that connect with what someone reading it might be looking for?
Well, I think his main aim is pretty clear.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to shake us out of this collective delusion that our time is infinite, or at least controllable to an infinite degree.
To break the spell of that relentless productivity cult.
Yes, to challenge those dogmas. And instead, he offers this alternative philosophy, really. One based on accepting limits, making conscious choices, and committing to things that genuinely matter to you.
And for the reader, what might their goal be in picking up this book?
I think readers often come to it feeling overwhelmed, maybe dissatisfied with how they're spending their time. So they might be looking to embrace that finitude, not as a curse, but maybe as a focusing lens.
A guide, almost.
Yeah, a guide. Maybe they want permission to question those societal pressures, to
Yeah.
constantly do more, achieve more, and maybe redefine what success or a well-spent life actually looks like, perhaps focusing more on the quality of their time, the depth of their experiences, rather than just, ticking boxes.
So if we were to wrap up the main takeaways from 4,000 Weeks, what are the core conclusions Berkman leaves us with?
I'd say the book isn't really a typical self-help guide with neat tricks. It's more of a philosophical invitation, isn't it?
Definitely. An invitation to relate to time differently.
Yeah, to stop fighting it,
Mhm.
stop trying to conquer every second, and instead learn to
Yeah.
inhabit our time with a bit more depth, maybe some wisdom, even serenity.
And that core message, the 4,000 Weeks, it shouldn't be paralyzing, right? He suggests it should be motivating.
Absolutely. It's meant as a call to authenticity, not a source of dread. The idea is that by accepting the brevity, the preciousness of it all,
We can live more freely,
right,
more intentionally.
exactly, more freely, maybe with more compassion for ourselves and others, and with a clearer sense of purpose because we know it's limited. His final sentence really sums it up powerfully. Your life is finite. Make it count.
Such a simple yet profound challenge. So, just to recap our deep dive today, we've touched on the stark reality of our limited time, the seductive but false promise of total control, the power found in accepting limits, the trap of existential procrastination, that tricky paradox of efficiency, and the vital importance of cultivating deep time.
It really is a fundamental challenge. Berkman issues asking each of us to genuinely reconsider how we relate to our time and maybe live with more intention, more meaning.
Which brings us perfectly to a final thought for you, our listeners. Taking inspiration from Burkeman, but perhaps pushing it a step further. Imagine for a moment you knew, somehow, the exact limit of your time, though thankfully we don't. What, if anything, would you change right now about how you're investing your weeks? What conversations might you finally have? What experiences would you stop putting off? Something to ponder as you go about the rest of your day. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.